Okay, so hopefully you're back. As we talk about this, let's go ahead and make sure that we get these questions answered and you get to see more of me. Congratulations. Hi. Um, so regarding this question here, where we're talking about how is this going to affect higher trophic levels? If we are losing energy every single time we go up in the food chain, then what's happening by the time we get to the top levels? For example, how much of the original energy is that bald eagle getting when he swoops down and picks up a fish that ate a smaller fish that ate the plankton or the algae to begin with? And if you look at it, if we start with algae, then we go to the smaller fish, then we go to another fish, we're basically at that point in time getting 1% of the energy because we dropped how many levels. Or if we look at it as the mountain lion that has tried to sneak up and eat the deer, and that deer has been grazing. Now, if we start with the original and the grass that that deer ate has 100%, then the deer gets 10% and the mountain lion gets 1%. However, the deer is obviously a lot larger than the bald eagle, and so it's getting more, or the mountain lion's a lot bigger than the bald eagle, and so it's able to get more energy, but it's getting the same percentage because it's having to eat larger prey. So that's with that question. Basically what's happening is these animals are having to eat more in order to get the same amount of energy. Do you think it costs a mountain lion any less energy to survive than it does that deer? And realistically, they're about the same weight, so that mountain lion has to have the same amount of energy. It's having to eat a lot more deer than the deer's having to eat grass in order to survive, because it's only getting 10% of the energy off of what the deer is getting from the grass. Now that next question says, why would we be more energy efficient as humans to not eat meat, to eat lower on the food chain, or to eat producers? So this is my favorite example. I go to the restaurant, I go to Maddox, and I want me just a great big huge, and I don't even know if they have it because I can't afford it, but I'd get me a big huge 32-ounce prime rib. Okay, maybe 16. I don't think I could eat 32 anymore. I'm getting too old. But how much energy is in that 32-ounce prime rib? Well, given what the original, right, the cow was eating, I'm getting 10% I'm getting 1% of that original energy. The cow gets to keep 10%. I get to keep 1% of that original energy. So I can eat me a great big huge steak for the same amount of energy as if I ate 1/10 of that in salad. So realistically, we have to eat less salad than we do steak in order to get the same amount of energy, or the same. So if we're talking different example would be not necessarily salad, but if we took that same grain the cow's eating, I can eat a whole lot less bread than I could steak. So that bread that's a 16-ounce piece of bread or loaf of bread, if I eat that, I'm getting 10 times the calories from that bread that I ever am from the steak. So if you think how many of your parents, when we go out, are eating a lot or on this Atkins diet. And one of the reasons why the Atkins diet works, everybody claims it's protein, and that is good, but we get a lot less energy from protein than we do carbohydrates, simply because these carbohydrates are coming directly from the plants. And so there's not as much energy lost, so we have to eat fewer carbohydrates than we ever do protein. So when we talk about why would it be more energy efficient for humans, it's because we can eat a lot less in order to get the same amount of calories than we would from a great big huge steak. Now, as we talk about this, and we skip down, it's important to compare the relative energy output expended by an organism in obtaining food to the energy gained from the food. So if we think about this, this is has a lot to do with especially higher level predators. Let's take great white in the ocean, right? We just finished up Shark Week, greatest week in the history of the planet, or TV. Close second to it is Big Cat Week. My kids don't always enjoy it because during those weeks, I'm glued to the TV. It's the biologist in me. It's the biology teacher in me, and I absolutely love it. But if we're talking about this, if a great white is out chasing food in the ocean for long periods of time, and it's just catching little fish at a time, what is the energy output required in order to catch those little fish? It's going to be huge. Great white is quick and fast, but it's not very agile. So for it to catch those small fish is not going to do it a whole lot of good because it's not very good at it. Now, these smaller sharks that are quick and agile, they can spend a lot more time catching these smaller fish because it's easier for them. But what about the energy output if this great white, right, sneaks up, swims on the bottom of the ocean, and then just jumps up out of the air and slams the seal that's there and kills this seal? Well, how much energy is in the seal compared to these fish? Well, the seal's been eating the fish, so it's going to lose about 90% of the energy, but the energy required to catch that seal is a whole lot less than if this great white is swimming around trying to catch these smaller fish. So when we talk about this relative energy output, it's going to be small by the shark if it's trying to catch seals when compared to catching these smaller fish. It's a whole lot easier for you to go to the grocery store and let someone else output the energy trying to catch fish or even cows, right, than it is for you to go and slaughter and everything else. The energy output's a whole lot less. Now, the cost is going to be reflected in that because somebody has to pay the cost of that. But that's when we talk about energy output. That's why if we look at bald eagles, if they have their chance to swoop down and feast on a dead elk carcass, as opposed to swooping down and catching fish, which one are they going to choose? Well, they're going to choose the dead elk. They're getting the same amount of energy with a whole lot less output of that to try and do that. So that's why we talk about it. Question 3 says, in comparison to hummingbirds' body weight, how much food do you think the organism needs to consume? So we got this picture of these beautiful hummingbirds. Now, these hummingbirds are tiny. In order for them to maintain and fly the way they do, huge amounts of energy are required. So these hummingbirds, as they're flying around, are trying to get the most energy available to them with the least amount of output. Well, where does that come from? And hopefully, as you're thinking about that and we get that little pause in there, you're realizing that the highest energy output comes from producers. So these hummingbirds are swooping and trying to find, and they're looking for the most energy efficient plants that are available. These ones that are storing all of this high energy nectar in the flowers. Because it's not easy for hummingbirds. They burn through huge amounts of calories. Okay? So, sorry, we did not mean to do that. You're going to go crazy. Just close your eyes for a minute and I'll tell you when to open them. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. I should have probably paused. Okay? So, in comparison to the body weight, how much do you think it needs to consume? Well, it needs to consume 2 times its body weight every single day in nectar. Now, are these hummingbirds heavy? No, they're not. They're just a few ounces. But if you think 2 ounces is there, and then it has to eat 4 ounces of food to compensate for that, that would, truthfully, that would be like me eating 400, or maybe a little more, but around we'll go with around 400 pounds. Right? We'll call me around 200 pounds. Me eating around 400 pounds of food every single day. Would that make me happy? Heck yes. I would love it. But if I eat 400 pounds of food, it's not going to take me long to get up to 400 pounds in weight, and then I'm going to have to eat 800 pounds of food every single day. And on a teacher's salary, I can't afford that. So what are some strategies used by organisms to balance the energy expended to obtain food from the energy gained from food, right? This is the very bottom. And it asks you for 3 different things, okay? So I want you to take and consider that, right? And talk with your lab partner. I'm going to give you 2 minutes while I sit here and watch you. Yeah, I really can't see you. Don't worry about it. Other than I do have access, remember, to the cameras that are up here. So if I happen to be looking in on you at the same time from my cell phone, I may be able to see you. But I want you to take 2 minutes, explain to your lab partner what you think some of these energy things are. And I'm going to go big screen. Wow. What a good looking guy. Other than the camera is up on the top, so I'm trying to balance. So if it looks like I'm looking weird at times, it's because I'm trying to read on the screen, right? I guess if I really wanted to crouch down here, but then you can see how bald I truly am. You should probably be quiet. Be quiet while you're discussing this. Okay, long enough. You're going crazy. So what are some strategies we have? What do bears do? Well, bears hibernate. They spend all summer long fattening up, going. They know that the food is going to be scarce in the winter, so what do? They go into hibernation. That way they don't have to try and find food all winter long, knowing they're going to spend more energy looking for food that they're going to get than they're going to get from that food. So that's one strategy. They can hibernate. We are in the fall. Right? Pretty soon, if not now, you look up into the sky and you're going to see what? Birds migrating south. So migration is another one. Rather than spend all winter long sleeping or looking for food, how about we just fly south to where the food is going to be, and then we don't have to spend as much time looking for it. Our energy output to get the food is going to be less than what we're getting when we actually get the food. We're going to be able to maintain health and go that way. The last one is going to be, we're going to eat the weak or young. Now, some of you are like, oh, that's not fair, right? But realistically, those lions, those sharks, all these top-level predators, if they have their choice between a healthy adult that's going to give them a ton of energy or a weak or tiny little animal, which one are they going to take? Well, they're all going to take and eat the weak or young, simply because the energy output is a whole lot less than the energy they're going to get from that food. We can sneak up, right? We can grab the baby zebra, and the lion's going to feast on that baby zebra and not even really have to run. So unfortunately, this is a technique that we use a lot in nature. It's a harsh reality, but because of the energy output, that's one they're going to use. So that puts you all the way through page 7. It's been a long day. Hopefully it hasn't been too hot. I've probably been thinking about you today. If I haven't, I was at least thinking about you a week ago when I made the video. Know that you're cared for. Know that you're loved. Enjoy your day. Actually, as we're here, I realize it's Friday. So you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you when I get back. One last thing, remember, looks aren't everything, or it's what's inside you that really matters, okay? It's a biology teacher who doesn't have many looks that told you that. So I apologize if it's not true, but in my heart of hearts it is. That's why my wife loves me. Not for looks, but for what's inside me. Have a good weekend. Be safe. Trying to think if I got a bad dad joke for you before we go to enjoy. Probably not. So, sayonara.